Hello and happy Halloween, my friends and viewers, and welcome to this week's episode of Legendlore, where I draw and talk about monsters, characters, gods, and other things from D&D 5th edition, all while giving a small but quickly digestible history about them. Together we'll go over their origins within the game, how they're utilized in the modern edition, and how you can utilize them in your own games. This video we will be covering the Flameskull, a classic D&D monster that appears as a floating skull surrounded by an aura of ghostly fire. Created by necromancers for the sole purpose of serving as scouts, sentries, and protective units, Flameskulls are usually made from the skull of a slain spellcaster, with the materials needing to be harvested shortly after their death. The ritual with which to construct a Flameskull is really the only way that they are known to be created, as they do not occur naturally and thus kind of walk a fine line between being an undead and a construct in a way. Some depictions of Flameskulls are said to have runic carvings on the surface of their head, and the flames that surround them can be of any color based on aesthetic choice, though the default is usually green. Both of these little details can help a Flameskull stand apart from the traditional depiction, as a spellcaster who created them can decorate them with their own flair if they're a wizard, or make special designs in reverence to their god if they are a cleric. This detail can also help players with religion checks to identify the god, demon, or entity that the Flameskull's creator is aligned with. In their natural state, Flameskulls burn as bright as torches with the light of their flame, but they can actively choose to suppress their aura if they need to be stealthy or hide from the eyes of passing adventurers. Flameskulls were also capable of speech and retained the intellect of the caster that their skull was harvested from, noted to often cackle, scream, or speak verbal components when casting spells such as Fireball, Flaming Sphere, Magic Missile, and so on. However, a Flameskull only retained its intelligence and its ability to cast spells if the spellcaster that created it allowed it to do so, and the Flameskull's creator could also infuse new spells into it, depending on the situation. Some Flameskulls were capable of casting powerful spells such as Firestorm, Flame Strike, and even the always useful Detect Magic. Flameskulls carry all of the same immunities, resistances, and vulnerabilities as other undead, being immune to cold, fire, poison, and lightning damage, and bearing a high resistance to spells. Due to the difficulty of damaging bone using piercing or slashing weapons, only bludgeoning damage seemed to truly be effective against them. But the best secret of Flameskulls for Dungeon Masters is that even after being destroyed, a Flameskull could reassemble itself within the hour, all depending on the power and proximity of their spellcaster creator. There's nothing like having your party fight against a pack of Flameskulls, taking a short rest in the same chamber, and then having to fight those Flameskulls all over again right at the end of their rest. The only way to prevent this was either to soak the Flameskull's shattered pieces in holy water, or subject them to spells such as Dispel Evil and Good, Dispel Magic, or Remove Curse. Flameskulls have also been known to retain vague memories of their old lives, and can recall important periods in detail, as well as speaking with their former voices when they did speak. Many unfortunately did go insane if they were allowed to retain their intellect, due to the endless watches that their creators always set them on. As such, Flameskulls could easily be entertained by anything that was going on around them, with a small number going as far as to try and seek some form of companionship. This primarily occurred whenever the object of the Flameskull's guardianship was either destroyed or taken, their purpose now lost and leaving the Flameskull to sort of wander off. Most would expect them to attack the one who destroyed their charge or seek an end to their undead state, but more often than not the Flameskull would actually exhibit gratitude and begin following those who freed them. This can make for some quite excellent comedy relief in your games, or even a deep roleplay moment as the Flameskull slowly uncovers who it used to be. Obviously, due to them not being naturally occurring creatures, Flameskulls don't exactly have a distinct culture. What they do have are the directions given to them by their creators, with most Flameskulls simply guarding whatever their creator compelled them to protect. This can range from protected or concealed treasure hoards, to secret rooms, to even certain people that are used as hostages or individuals relevant to the spellcaster's plans. Flameskulls carried out their duties to the absolute letter, and so their creators were always very careful to word their orders properly. And the Flameskull would continue their duties well even beyond the death of their makers. And as such, most of them can be found within ancient ruins and abandoned lairs just as often as they can be found within inhabited ones. Now when it comes to combat, Flameskulls would speak aloud to their enemies in an attempt to lure them into traps, misinforming them about other dangers within the area, and using their spells in a variety of ways. Many were armed with the spell Mage Hand to open and shut doors, trigger and reset traps, and manipulate other objects as needed. They are also particularly keen to avoid melee and missile attacks, focusing on flying to a high vantage point and safely hurling fire and spells down at their foes. Also, one should definitely make use of the previous point of Flameskulls reforming after an hour if they haven't been dispelled. It'll definitely keep your party on their toes and introduce them to the tried and true rule of double tap. And of course, while Flameskulls have their namesake, their creators were also keen to infuse them with all manner of different spells. And as such, you can have a Flameskull appear as if it's surrounded by another element depending on its spell list, such as Cold Air and Frost for ice-based magic, or even Dark Clouds and Lightning for storm spells. Some spellcasters would even go as far as to infuse their Flameskulls with the spell magic and counterspell, keeping them around to protect them rather than sending them off to serve as glorified scouts, with the sole purpose of shutting down enemy casters. This way, the Flameskull's creator could hold on to their own reactions and spell slots for use in other ways, such as restricting or damaging the party. Flameskulls with more cunning masters would be infused with the spell Alarm, and upon detecting an enemy, the Flameskull would sound the alarm for the caster to leave or prepare for danger, which can make it extremely difficult for the party to hunt down the villain if they don't discover this trick, even more so if the alarm that is sounded is silent and can only be heard by the caster. Another fun loophole that you can use in your games is to have your spellcaster label an animated skeleton body as the thing that the Flameskull needs to protect, before attaching said Flameskull to the neck of the body. And then when the party encounters them, they think that they will just be battling some normal skeletons, only for those same skeletons to begin breathing fire and casting magic missiles the second that they start attacking their bodies. And then once the body goes down, have the head start floating away, continuing their vicious assault. Lastly, and my favorite little trick that I use in my games, Flameskulls do not need to be primarily humanoid in shape, as there are all manner of spellcaster victims from which a Flameskull can be made. Large-sized Flameskulls made from the heads of giants, eldritch, psychically empowered Mind Flayer skulls, and even massive horned dragon skulls kept as sentries or trophies by spellcasters who hunt them. Get creative, it can definitely yield some very interesting results. With everything in mind, here's a few ideas that you guys can use for Flameskull characters and adventures in your games. A necromancer could have failed in their lichdom and ended up transforming themselves into a Flameskull, but uses this to their advantage as the party would not expect them to be in this form. They can either hide in plain sight amongst other Flameskulls or simply pop off their puppeted skeletal body upon quote-unquote defeat. The party celebrates and thinks that they won the day, unaware that their foe still lives, quietly floating away or hiding amongst all the rubble until they leave. On the other hand, you have a Flameskull become self-aware upon the party succeeding in collecting or destroying whatever it was that they were charged with protecting, deciding that these adventures are really the most interesting thing that they have ever encountered. Wanting to know more about the world and following their endeavors, the skull then sticks with the party and can serve a variety of different purposes, if the party successfully convinces them to do so. The easiest one is simple comic relief, giving snarky comments and staying just out of reach of the party to avoid being throttled. The Flameskull can also serve as a scout or sentry for the party, as it cannot die and will reform even after being shattered. It can also hold some ancient knowledge of history and lore, which can be relative to the party's quest, or just be a bunch of ridiculous historical trivia that they'll babble out of boredom. Lastly, you can take the more dramatic approach of the Flameskull realizing who they were in their past life, learning about the life that they lost, the people that they left behind, and all the dread and heartbreak that comes with that. For our magic item this evening, we have something called the Returner Amulet. This item is a necklace that requires attunement, and while attuned to this item, whenever the target dies, the necklace is destroyed and they are instantly revived up to half of their maximum hit points with all 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level spell slots refilled. But this item is also infused with a curse. That being that the wearer is not revived with their full body. Their head rips off of their torso and arcane flames melt their skin and flesh away to reveal a pure, glowing skull. That's right everybody, upon death the wearer becomes a sentient Flameskull, still armed with their class features and spells and such, but their quote-unquote body now becomes that of a flaming, angry, spell-slinging skull. This way the quest to revive the player's character won't force the player to need to make a brand new character, in case they wish to keep having the rapport that they have already developed with the party going. Before enacting this ability, I would definitely present the option to the player out of game beforehand, that way they can have the choice of whether or not they wish to simply make a new character or continue going forward. You never want to force a player into a position that they don't want to be in. And that is the Flameskull, folks, short, sweet, and to the point. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. I want to wish all you guys a happy Halloween as well as All Hallows Eve, Samhain, and all of the other variety of holidays that people celebrate around this time. And if you guys like these videos, please like, share, and subscribe, and press the little bell icon in the corner to be notified of new videos every Sunday morning. If you guys want to vote on the subject of the next video, please follow me on Twitter and cast your vote in the poll today. Also, please follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and other social media if you guys want to see all the projects that I'm working on. Finally, please let me know how you guys have encountered or used Flameskulls at your table, as well as what other things you guys would like to see me cover in the future. Until then, I'll see all you guys next time.